Greetings, and welcome to Big Wow Comic Fest. Recap Day 2, Sunday. Yes, it was a Big Wow recap thingy. And yeah, the first thing you guys want to know about is probably what happened when I went to the Donald Duck guy. Not to be confused with the DuckTales guy, but the DuckTales guy, the Donald Duck guy. So, yeah, and although I got this, the 3 caballeros. John's got one of these too. Yeah, so there you go. Marx Cards has one of these. And yeah, I got one too. So yeah, that 3 caballeros. Well, I asked him about like doing commissioning a drawing of the duck characters Huey, Dewey, and Louie as Star Trek characters. He flat out refused to do that. But someone else didn't. There we go. They look like trolls, but yeah, so they look like evil trolls, but yeah. There you go. Starquack. It's not gonna happen. But here is it's actually Kal Kat, of course. It's me. I went to the little kid booth and got some crayons and drew these up at the convention. There you go. They look like trolls though. They don't look like ducks. They do have bills, but the bills look like evil grins somehow. Didn't quite work. Yeah. Oh. Let's see what else is in my grab bag of teeth. Here you haven't. The John Stanley retrospective on oops, upside down, on Leonard Nimoy, John Stanley thing, con and all that, and some other things from various artists on things like that. And of course, at some point, the future artists who will draw the comic book of Distant Destinies, they've been found, but we don't know who they are yet. Okay, this is a program from the 2011 version of the Milpitas Monster movie. I think it was mentioned before that although this is dated 2014, I guess he just put out a press kit. I have a press kit. Robert Burrell was there at the convention, and this time, and nobody was coming to his table, so I went over there and chatting with him, and then other people showed up as I was chatting with him because, ooh, there's a conversation going on, and basically volunteered ad hoc to go to his and plug his re-release of the Milpitas Monster on Blu-ray. There's going to be a Blu-ray, and then they're going to play it on the 20 screen. They're going to play it on the 20 screen. He's got a them all, so yeah. So it's going to be at the Cinemark on October 30th. It's going to be at the Cinemark theaters on Friday at 7, and he's got this ad for it. I don't want to run the ad here because that'd be silly. He'd run it on his own site, but yeah. So me as regular, just me as. Or maybe there will be Kal Kat, but it'll be me. So yeah, I'll be there for the premiere. And although I mentioned it to my mother, and she wants to be there, but I don't know whether she realizes what she's getting into. So it'll probably just be me, and maybe Martha. We'll see. And then it'll be like I wasn't actually involved in the production. I was only 4 or 5 when it came out, but Dad was in the film. Yeah. He had a cameo as the council member. And interestingly enough, in the program, they put a middle initial in his name that it isn't his. But, yeah. Despite that, yes, the Milpitas Monster, they were going to make a sequel in around 2004 or 5. It would have been about a popcorn monster, which would have been a little cheesy. Well, that is pretty cheesy, popcorn monster. And here we have another artist. This is Keith Tucker's artbook. He is a guy from the 90s Ninja Turtles and X-Men and a little bit later Ninja Turtles. Eastman and Layard are, of course, the original. the TV shows, the cartoons. So, and of course G.I. Joe and the Transformers, original '80s cartoons. And these are stills from the show. Yeah, so that's cool. Stills. And I think it was hilarious is my Donald Duck thing that looks evil. And here is Naughty Princess Leia. Yes. So yeah, I was at one panel and it was the retrospective of Spock. I was briefly walked in on another panel where a guy was drawing on model Spider-Girl from the 90s. And she was sitting there and he was drawing it and putting it up on the screen. And that was not too interesting because all he was talking about it was his children, having kids, and worried about like not spending enough time with them. It's like, okay, this is not exciting. I'm gonna leave. Ooh, I got a Psycho Donut. It was weird. I can't say it's the greatest. It's not. They're not that great. They're just okay. They're interesting and different. Very sweet, but they were advertising that. Oh yes, and the multicolored character was back, the one that Marx cards saw, and it was actually the fox character. It was a fox. Or no, it was a wolf. That's right, it's a wolf. She was a wolf, but from like a manga. It's sort of a manga wolf. So she was like had like spots of blue and orange in her, like she was a Pokemon wolf or something. Her own design. And I believe that some of the friends of the infamous Rocky Horror Drea were also there in their costumes. But she was not, but they were. So I didn't see her. She could have been one of the panels. So yeah. Yeah. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh yes, the second day was more subdued. Less people. The horror hosts, John Stanley and the Lord Bloodraw were there, and there was this. And I don't gather that Stanley was all that excited about meeting the Milpitas Monster guy. Because he kind of knew him, so it was like... And he wanted to do other things. He was thinking of other things, so... so he was on to other things. Bloodraw was interested. He wanted to see it. Though, like most of us, he had a copy of the movie and hadn't actually watched it all the way through. I have watched it all the way through, but... There hasn't been a riff tracks of it, so I'm thinking Kal Kat Show should do a riff tracks of it. That would be fun. So we'll see about that. Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying probably could do one. But yeah, let's say what else. Anything amusing anecdotes from this particular one? The camera phone wouldn't take a picture of the Spectre girl from the movie Watchmen, only because at first, not because they had butterfingers or was nervous or something, but because it just didn't work. In fact, it kept flaking out over and over again, and like it would just stop. It would not shoot a picture, even though it would totally shoot a picture at other times. And it did that with a Thor guy too. So it wasn't like it was like, ooh, I'm nervous because it's a chick. No, it wasn't that. It was the camera wasn't working. And then this other guy walked in with this like big ass like $1,000 camera, and he's like, took all these like quick pictures and stuff. So yeah, let's see what else. There was they were trying to show the trailers and sections for the Milpitas Monster off, and this guy who was kind of not all there showed up, and he was watching the clips, and it's like he just was on another planet, and he didn't get it, that it was like a movie. And he's kind of like, oh, I can't watch it anymore. Oh. And it was just like, I guess he's not into horror or something. It was a horror table. It said CreatureCon Part 3 or whatever it is, this year. So it's like, it's a horror table. Welcome to a horror table. It's not real. It's a horror table. Yeah, it's make-believe. It's not real. It's not atrocities and death and stuff. So yeah, that didn't work too well. Oh yeah, and there was this other table where this one guy was selling these like rap spoofs of Creepshow and stuff like that. They were like comic books, and he really, really, really wanted to sell me a rap comic, but I didn't really want one. I mean, I wasn't being like, it's just not my thing to have a rap comic. what I do with it. I just it's not my thing. But the Tucker was around the corner, so I went to him. Yeah, so that was cool. I got the guy that did Transformers and G.I. Joe's opening crawl and stuff. Or yes, Transformers later episodes. He did the Bruticus one. But he did the G.I. Joe opening crawl. Which is cool. So, yeah, there was a Marvel person, a couple of Marvel people there too, and DC. There was a couple of X-Men people. I didn't get anything from them. There was somebody that did a DC Firestar. What happened to that incident? Where did that go? Did I lose it? Weird. Oh yeah, this chick, she did it. I don't know if she actually was commissioned by the DC people to do a Firestar, but she did. And here she looks really satanic and evil. You can tell she's evil. She's supposed to be a good guy, but there she looks kind of like a bad guy. So like she's gonna like take someone out or something, and possibly hug them, but also evilly. So she would actually catch them on fire while she was hugging. Nah. Funny, it's like, oh yeah, that's her leg. Ooh, her armor costume isn't very practical. But she's an alien. With the armor of Firestar. Hardly have any clothes on. Yes. Excellent. Why doesn't Robin dress like that and make it fair? So yeah, it would be hilarious. And then Cyborg, I've seen pictures of that. Yeah, there's stuff of everything. Oh yes, I was watching this. One of the things I got yesterday. This was hilarious. God. This is Adventures in Space, little clips from the Moon People and stuff. Way back in the 30s and 40s. Some of it in the 50s and 60s. It's a collection of weird sci-fi shorts. And I think mainly the 60s is what this is actually from, because it's got like references to moon landings and stuff. So it's like the 50s and 60s, I would say. And what's funny is there's this episode where the moon people, the moon gods, are running around, and there's this moon crater chick who's like the moon goddess, and she's got these little circles all over her body, like here and here and here. And what's funny is that girl from yesterday was dressed with the circles thing and the gloves and everything, looked kind of like that moon goddess costume. And I suspect that the Japanese animators that thought of Dead Man Wonderland, which is what that character is from, also had seen that moon thing. They must have in the 60s, because it's a very unique costume and it looked like it. So I'm thinking they saw that old 60s one and they're all like, oh yeah, let's do that again. No one will know. It's that obscure. It's funny that it's on here. It was funny because like one of the horror host guys mentioned her that and thought she was the moon goddess. And I said, you're the moon goddess. And she thought, no, I'm from this other show. And I found out what that other show was. It's called Dead Man Wonderland. It's a weird show. It's sort of like a cross between Battle Royale and like Ninja High School and 2 or 3 other things and Super Jail. So they're the evil Ninja High School thing, and they're like after a post-apocalyptic post-earthquake Japan in 2011. But it's the future. So it's the future. And their blood has powers or something. It's a magic blood. And yeah, I wonder where Abrams stole that from. Gee, I wonder. Because that show was on when, yeah, I'm sure he was watching it. But yeah, their blood has powers and it like cures them when they get a disease. Yeah. And although some of that was mentioned earlier, it was probably cross-pollination. Because of the fear of like pathogens in the blood, they could just say that's that. But it's like, yeah, you're ripping. That's where he got the idea for the magic blood. Yeah, and it's not mentioned as magic blood in the first Star Trek movie or that one. Yeah, it is. And yeah, so nothing's new. The moon goddess lady. Oh yeah, there was this hilarious like one from the David and Goliath people. that was on that video that had these characters where they didn't animate anything except the mouths. So the mouths were like, I'm going to go into gladiatorial combat. And their heads wouldn't move, they're just the mouth. And then they would like do combat, and there was these two robots that were like a foot with like a robot TV screen stuck on the top of like tank treads. Looked like a cross between a 1930s tank and a Carta from the Carta. It really did look like Cartas, and I swear I didn't see that cartoon when I was a kid. I don't know how. Wow, I just thought of the same idea. Basically, my idea was that like the tank tread foot thing was that it was literally ripped off the foot of a giant robot, and they used it to drive around it. They tore the foot off, and they were like driving around it. That's all I did. Yeah, so mine. Yeah. Yes. More to come in the future. Yes. Possibly not Bacon. I think we spent too much money. Went back and spent more. But yeah, we'll see about that. But definitely next October, it'll be the 31st anniversary of On Location, and maybe people will watch me going somewhere and doing something instead of doing me talking. Go and do something at someone else's expense. It'll be awesome. So the irony is that I'm not the horror host kind of guy. That would be Marx Cards. So they better get one of the horror hosts, because that's a Marx Cards thing. He's the expert. It's kind of strange. Yeah, well, he's not the expert, but yeah, we think we are. So yeah, so Big Wow. This was Big Wow, 2015 Comic Fest, and yeah, that's. I'm sure I can use it. So yeah, and oh yeah, there were Walking Dead guys there, and I have some scenes here to add. There were Walking Dead guys there trying to plug that. There was a Game of Thrones artist trying to plug that. Game of Thrones spoof, Batman and Robin. Of course, if you knew what Game of Thrones was, I don't really watch it, so I don't know. Or Walking Dead, which is ironic. And I don't watch that either. But the reason that he didn't want to do the duck print thing was apparently he's not commissioned to do that, even if you were saying you were going to pay him. He still didn't want to do it. Also, he didn't want people to think that he was the DuckTales guy, so he put up a sign that said, I'm not the DuckTales guy. And he's doing it in the tradition of the other guy, so the duck guy, right? But the duck guy had, just before me, a guy brought in a bootleg off eBay drawing, and he wanted the duck guy to authenticate it. And he was kind of pissed off about that. So when I went up there, and he was like looking at him, and he's all like, this isn't my artwork. This is someone else's artwork. This is the guy imitating me. And the guy didn't seem to get it, that it wasn't his artwork. And that he can't just sign like a bootleg of something because he didn't draw it. And he's like, oh, this guy's charging you money for this? Oh, I mean, it's a good copy, fake, but it's a fake. And he's like, oh, well, can you sign your name on it anyway, and my name and stuff, and the guy's all like, okay. So all he did was he signed literally the guy's first name he wrote on it. He just like wrote his first name in stencils, and he said, okay, I'll authenticate your signature that I just drew, but not the picture, because it's a bootleg. And then I sat down and I wanted a Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, or maybe a Dr. McCoy Scrooge, and he didn't want to do that. So he said like, oh, I just had this other guy. Oh. Yeah, but I didn't want a bootleg. I wanted him to actually commission and draw me an original work with Star Trek crossover, and I would pay for it. But he didn't want to do that because it would be totally unique and no one would ever have that. So that didn't happen. So I drew my own. I'll have to do a better one later. We have some characters, models standing up, and very, very elaborate models. Yeah, so there we go, and there's a girl who wanted to pose in front of the models. And, yeah, so there was a lot of that, a lot of selfies, a lot of things like that. It was, and there's Marx Cards, and actually a very good pose of Marx Cards. We have, of course, Kitty Key, the martial sportist, in what very well could be the movie poster
or one of the movie posters, including the background with people zapping by, because that just looks really, really cool like that. But yeah, that does look pretty neat. So, and then we cut into the showroom. Of course, you can't just go by and shoot pictures of tables where most of them are artists. So, yeah. So here I go to the DeLorean from Back to the Future model. Very well done kit car model of the thing. It looked just like the first movie DeLorean from Back to the Future, set to the time controls of 2000, so that they can go back in time and have relations with aliens from the past or other timelines, and then not need to worry about it. Which is why Kal Kat is grinning there, because that's what he did. He went back to the future and came back. And Mark's cards didn't go with him, which is strange, because you think he would hop in there with him, but he didn't. And there are lots of pictures of me in the DeLorean there. Actually, the DeLorean is kind of a cheap, crappy car. And so the guy said, don't lean on the steering wheel and don't press on the steering wheel, because, like, when you're getting out, because it'll fall off, apparently. Or break or something, which would suck. You can see the time controls say 2000, which is funny. So you went back 15 years, Marty. No. Dun, dun, dun. It's funny that I fit in there just barely. So that means that Doc Brown fit in there just barely. Because he's about the same height. So, yeah, and Michael J. Fox, of course, would really fit in there because he's kind of short. But if you're going to build a time machine, why not do it in style? Oh. And then we cut to the Doctor Who characters from Doctor Who, possibly the Baker years. Mark's cards knows more about that than I do, and he appears in the shots here. But there he is. And we have Mark's cards. And so, yeah. And here we have Deadpool with a lightsaber, which is pretty awesome that he has a lightsaber. That should be in the next movie. He should have a lightsaber, because that'd be funny. And here we have one of the kids who attacked the alien. It was another one. The other one that attacked it with the sword didn't turn out. There's the other one. And here we have the Creature Con guys, including the Milpitas Monster guy on the very end of the table. And there we have me, day 2, I believe, that at this point. And yeah, in front of San Jose State. And you rarely see any San Jose State pictures, even though I went there for a total of 8 years. If you count the 4 for the 1 and the 3 for the other, 7 years. But yeah, well, and then briefly, 7.5 years. Yeah, let's say 8. But yeah, so we have more Frankenstein. That's actually a guy doing a Frankenstein, standing really still. And he moved, but yeah, he's doing like a robot there. And he's got those weird, like, things on either side of his head. Look like LED lights. Yeah, so that's cool. And there is the girl from the some kind of a manga character. And there's possibly a Game of Thrones guy or something like that. Not a Thor, certainly. There's the wolf girl in the distance. There is the chef version of the guy, Deadpool, and the others. Some kind of a hawk fighter guy. Yeah, I should probably know who that is, but I don't. And here's this cubist guy. And then we're coming up to the cubic triangular guy. And then we're coming up to the girl from Watchmen. And that's pretty much it. So, yeah, there we got it. Everyone is accounted for, and that's the thing.